Imagine immigrating to the US in your 20s. You leave everything behind that you know. You don't have any money. You don't have any resources, no college degrees. Just determination to figure it out when you land and do your best. In a lot of ways, that's the story of my family. These are my parents here on the left. I'm this goofball over there. And it's a story you've heard before. It's a story of hard work and determination and grit and wanting to succeed. But there's another side of that story that I want to tell today. And it's less about hard work and grit and more about connection and joy. And I want to tell a story that's about a secret weapon that my parents had, in addition to that hard work that they put in. And that secret weapon was an abundance of aunties. And when I say aunties, what I mean here is not my parents' siblings. My parents' siblings, they left back in Ghana when they immigrated here. But I mean the people in our community, the local people who my parents leaned on, who really helped to support and raise myself and our whole family. And so there was Auntie B, who lived next door and would look after us if my parents had to work late. There was Uncle George, who would give us pocket change and say, hey, go buy some snacks at the grocery store and not tell my mom. There was Auntie Tanya, who, when I was getting ready to go to high school, helped me apply for a scholarship that landed me in a high school that completely changed my life. And when I think about these aunties and how my parents got them, the way they got them is by joining stuff. My mom joined a local church, and she was a Sunday school teacher there. And my dad joined the local Ghanaian Immigrant Association and helped organize. And through these organizations, my family made friends who became like family. And it's not a coincidence that as I grew up, I started to join stuff. Very different stuff than my parents in some ways, but still stuff. Here's me in 2019. I'm at a Star Trek meetup, and I know the guy's costume probably looks kind of intimidating, but I promise you, nicest guy you'll ever meet. And, I joined all sorts of stuff. I joined dance groups, and I joined book clubs, and, I got involved in running clubs and all sorts of things. And in a lot of ways, I had way too much community in my life. And in a way, I started to take it for granted. And it wasn't until I was forced to take a pause and the pandemic hit, and I lost those communities, access to those communities, that I really started to feel how important they were in my life. And I vowed that I would never, ever again take it for granted.
So the world stopped with COVID. And my world stopped too, but for a very different reason. I became a mom. And that's my little one, Mishka. She's 2 years old today. As any crucible moment in your life, when I became a mom, it was all confusing. It was all jumbled up. There were sleepless nights and baseless fears. I didn't know what I was really doing. But then she held my arms, and I felt the purest, most profound connection and love. I knew I wanted to give her the best life. I knew I wanted her to be in a world where she thrives, where she has friends, where she follows her curiosities, and where she has community. Around the same time, I came across the CDC report. They published the Youth Risk Report in 2022. And this is what I read. 1 in 2 teenage girls in high school today feels persistently hopeless and sad. 1 in 5 has made a suicide plan. Let's pause and look at that number again. 1 in 5 have made a suicide plan. Many, many more have considered a suicide. As a new mom holding my baby, I was scared. I was trembling. I couldn't sleep in the night. And to be honest, I thought these numbers were wrong. This cannot be possible. And so I went and talked to a bunch of people at my workplace who had teenage kids. And then I talked to their kids. And to my surprise, almost half of the people I talked to had either had a 911 call or found a note, which was really disturbing, in the last 24 months. At this point, I could not sit still. The more I researched, the more I realized this is not a high school girl's problem. This is a problem that affects each one of us. We are more disconnected today than we have ever been in the history of this nation. 50% of adults in US feel lonely, and 75% of us don't feel attached to a local community. 3 in 4 people sitting in this room feel that way. It is not just a good to have. It's eroding the way we live. It's eroding our democracy, our society. We don't trust each other. We don't trust our government. We have fewer friends we'll call at 2 a.m. If that wasn't enough, it's also affecting our bodies. Surgeon General came up with the loneliness report, calling it the most urgent epidemic that the country is facing. I've been in the health sector for over a decade. I've worked on personalized cancer vaccines. I've worked on Fitbits. I've worked on getting HIV medications all across the world. But even to me, it was a surprise that the biggest cause of health deterioration is not physical inactivity. It's not obesity. It's not diabetes. It's actually social connection. If you lack social connection, it's equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's what you're doing to your body. And so all of this was really scary. But where are the solutions? Even more shocking thing was none of this was new. None of this was news. And if you think about it, researchers on the other side of the coast have been talking about it for the last 5 decades. Our churches were emptying out, our clubs are not getting new members, our number of picnics are going low, we don't have dinners with our friends anymore. And so, me and Colt paused, thanks to COVID, and we realized that the world had to come to a pause for us to recognize what we were doing. I did not want my baby girl to grow up in a world like this. I did not grow up in a world like this. Colton does not grow up in a world like this. And so we had to do something about it. We left our job, and then we said, let's try something.
We decided that we needed to understand what was happening to our social fabric. We wanted to understand what was happening to the clubs. And myself and Sam said, let's get our treasure hunting maps out, our magnifying glasses, and try to find out. And so we went around San Francisco, and we talked to 100+ clubs. And we asked questions. What's going on? Why is it difficult for you to do this work? Why is it challenging? Why are you dealing with difficulties in terms of getting people to come and be a part of your club and stay? We kept hearing the same things again and again and again. And that was that building in real life community is really, really hard. It's not the same as, putting up a web page and clicking join, right? Nothing wrong with online community, but doing it in person is just a whole other beast. And we kept learning from the people who were the builders of these types of organizations and clubs that they were burning out. They were burning out from lack of resources. They were burning out from lack of access to ways to get the word out about what they're doing. They were burning out from not being able to have other people who were building community in clubs that they could share their experiences with and not feel alone in the building that they were doing. And so Sam and I said, hey, we got to do something about this. And the idea we came up with was Build IRL Accelerator, which is a program to help folks who are launching social clubs or trying to sustain those kinds of organizations get the support they need, the resources they need, and to band together so they can do that the best that they could. And we knew that we had to launch this program. We said we're going to do it in 2 months, and we got to work. And so we wrote a manifesto, and we launched an application and got lots of applicants. And then we were like, whoa, we got to interview these people, I guess. And so we had to interview people. And then we knocked on doors of venues and said, hey, would you mind hosting us if we had an event here? And then we had to negotiate with those venues. And then there were people who wanted to meet with us about sponsorship. And then we had to, have info sessions and help people understand what it was that we were doing. And then we wrote on whiteboards with very complex diagrams that don't make any sense to anybody but us. And we, did all of this work. And then at a very unexpected thing sort of happened at this juncture right before we needed to launch our program, which was we got a phone call. And it was an unexpected phone call. And it was from some friends of ours. And those friends said, hey, how would you like to take a pause?
It was crazy. Like, we had 2 weeks to go, and we had the 24 social clubs that had signed up for the program, and we were cooking up what we were going to do with them. We were, juggling between experts and venues, making it happen. And then Jen calls and says, why don't you take a day to breathe? I'm like, nah, that's not happening. But then deep inside of us, we knew that she was right. We needed to take a pause. We needed to stop the hurricane for just 30 seconds. And so we did that. We spent the day at their beautiful home. We went and walked across the end of the land on the West Coast, came back, and we realized 2 things. One, we were very grateful for making this happen. It was not Colton Saum that was making this happen. It was the army of supporters who were listening to us and who thought that this is the time for this idea. The second thing that we realized is that we cannot do this alone. What we want to do is to create a container for others to build with us. And so it completely transformed the way we approached the accelerator. No more was it about what are we going to teach to them? What is the session about? What are the topics for the session? It shifted our mindset into how do we create a container where the builders make friends with each other, understand that they are a part of a bigger fabric, and create the magic of helping each other. Because we knew we had rock stars in the room. And so instead of me telling you what we did for a month, here is a little bit of sneak peek of how we spent the summer together with the social club founders.
So at the end of this summer, the accelerator program had generated way more energy than we could have ever imagined. And we had 200 plus people come out to our showcase to learn about things they could join, think about building things, think about starting things. And then we had a cohort of 29 builders who came together over the course of the summer, and I think came away with a lot of close friendships and bonds that are gonna last well beyond our accelerator program. And we had a lot of energy coming at us. People saying, hey, how about you run the next accelerator program? And how about you do it at my space or my restaurant? Or how about you partner with my company? And Sam and I were just getting inundated with lots of ideas and thoughts about where we could take Build IRL from here. And we decided, after taking a second, that we would do something that would have been counterintuitive to us a few months back. We decided that we would take a pause. And I got on a plane and went to Ghana and saw my grandma, who turned 90. And I went to a place that was very different from San Francisco and got a very new perspective on how to think about community and being in person.
And I went to India, and I took my baby girl to India. She met her great-grandparents. That's her with her great-grandparents. With 4 generations in the house, I really anchored back on why I was doing this and what I wanted to recreate in San Francisco. And so, with the pause comes transformative insights, most of the times. And so what we realized after coming back from our travels is that, one, we are creating something that's going to take a long time and effort, and we're just getting started. We need thousands of more builders just in San Francisco. We need millions of more builders worldwide to bring back and give energy and life to the real world. That's one. And the second thing is what we realized is that what we need to do is to activate more builders and build with everyone. And so 2025 is a lot about what went right, so we'll do a bunch of more accelerators, but it's also about us creating a more open space for more builders who have an idea, who have energy, or who want to just support to actually come in and contribute. As we wrap up this talk, I have one ask from you, which is, go join something. If you have an idea that has been, in your mind for the last few months, and you want to knock on the door of your neighbor and slip a note and say, hey, do you want to grab dinner and wine with me? Do it. Build something. And if you don't have the time to join something or build something, just say thank you to people who are actually building it for you in your life. Thank you so much, and let's build the IRL world again.